0226. Every block, every ballot, every voice. This ain't left or right. This is right now. OVC. Teachers shaping minds. Vets who stood strong. Gig workers hustling just to get along. Parents, elders, first-time voters in line. Same clock ticking, same moment in time. No dark money whispers. No backroom deals. Daylight choices and the truth that's real. Labels don't own us. We bigger than signs. Accountability lives where democracy thrives.
Our vote counts. Yeah, remember the name. Every voice heard. We don't play no games. From the city to the plains, let freedom resound. Different stories, same future. United we found. Our vote counts. Stand tall, no doubt. Integrity first. Let the people speak loud. From the city to the plains, let freedom resound. Different stories, same future. United we
Clear
found.
facts, no spin. Education unlock, breaking down the process from the door to the box. Who earns the trust? Who shows up to serve? Asking the questions, leaders got nerves. Neighborhoods talking, town halls packed. Local voices first, yeah, we built it like that. Different faiths, views, so walking as one. Democracy stronger when we all get it done, yeah.
Our vote counts, yeah, remember the name. Every voice heard. We don't play no games. From coast to coast, let the movement expand. Power in the people, future in our hands. Our vote counts, stand tall, no doubt. When we show up informed, that's what it's all about. Our vote counts, stand tall, no doubt. When we show up informed, that's what it's all about.
This ain't no cycle, nah, this is a standard. Long-term vision, principles planned. From schools to the boards, up to the higher seats. We connect the dots from the block to the streets. Peaceful power, respect and demand. Integrity measured by actions, not plans. OVC active, participation mounts. When the people stand ready, turnout counts, yeah.
Our vote counts, yeah, remember the name. Every voice heard. We don't play no games. From the city to the plains, let freedom resound. Different stories, same future. United we found. Our vote counts, stand tall, no doubt. Integrity first. Let the people speak loud. From the city to the plains, let freedom resound. Different stories, same future. United we found.
Every voice,
Every voice,
every vote.
every vote.
Integrity, inclusion, accountability. OVC,
OVC.
yeah. 2026. My vote counts, and so does yours.
All right, y'all heard that song? Our vote counts, your vote counts, my vote counts. They all count, especially when it comes to races like the one we will be talking about tonight. County judge, county criminal court judge race. Every vote counts in these races, y'all. All it takes is to give one more than the opponent for a person to win. That's math, right? That's math. That's simple math. I am wearing my 92% sweatshirt. I have 2 of these. No, you cannot have it. You got to get your own. I can fix my microphone. Boo, boo. Tonight we are speaking with Tifanee Baker out of Dallas County, Texas. Is that still good? Night. Try to look fancy. Got the jewelry and the microphone. Unless you're in Georgia. Hey, Amanda. Woo! That is true. That is true. Let's see. Oh, Tiffany is here. Hey. Tiffany, I sent you an invite. While we wait for Tiffany to come up, listen, y'all. Y'all be good in them comments. Hi, Tiffany. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I am well. I'll give you a few minutes to get your background and things together. You know how to do the background, right? The green screen.
Yes.
Oh, there you go. Okay. You know what? Thank you. Bless you for that. We get so many people here who it's their first day on Earth and on the internet, and they have to be walked through. It's okay. I love it when people come up and they just know how to do it right away. That's because I'm neurotic. Hi, I'm Ayana. I'm neurotic. But yes, so tonight we're speaking with Tifanee Baker, who is running for Dallas County Judge for County Criminal Court 1. If you are in the audience, we appreciate your participation. We also appreciate them likes, honey. Tap, tap, tap the screen. Let's get the likes up if you haven't already, because we did do a town hall earlier tonight. If you haven't already sent your daily heart me, please send it to the account. Also, share this live with your followers. People in Texas, people outside of Texas who want to know how courts are ran. I know in some states, judges are appointed, but in Texas, they are elected. And in my state of Ohio, they are elected. So if you want to know how that process works, it's different in every state. We're going to be talking about Texas. If you are in Texas, and I know we got moderators who are in Texas, they will be in the chat. They will be helping to steer the conversation in the chat and also alerting me to questions that people may have. You can leave your question in the chat, or you can hit the multi-guest. Oh, I like that butterfly mask. Just in time for Mardi Gras. You can also hit the multi-guest option and you can come up and you can ask Tifanee directly. Also, as a reminder for myself and for Tifanee and for the people in the audience, please use the TikTok friendly language. I'm going to be asking Tifanee some questions that might lead to the use of certain words, and we want to make sure those words are not used. So we got to disguise. We have to mask, if you will, so that we don't get the dings on TikTok, so we can keep our account in good standing. Oh, OVC. Why didn't I put my OVC introduction on here? I don't know. You know what? I think I'd be doing all of this right, and then I get here. Anyway, my name is Ayana Fakir, and we are here with OVC. OVC, Our Vote Counts, is a nonpartisan coalition of citizens from diverse states and backgrounds, united by a shared commitment to empowering voters and promoting candidates who stand for integrity, inclusion, and accountability, in the upcoming elections. Tomorrow, early voting starts in Texas, as a reminder. OVC was formed by a collective of educators, veterans, small business owners, students, and community advocates. Our Vote Counts is more than a name. It's a promise, a movement, and a rallying cry for democracy. Together, we are shaping the future, one informed vote at a time. And as I said it a few minutes ago, we are joined by attorney Tifanee Baker. Tifanee earned her bachelor's degree from Texas A&M University. She earned her law degree from Texas Tech University School of Law and started her career as a prosecutor before volunteering at the Dallas County Public Defender's Office. She founded the T. Baker Law Office, PC, to practice criminal defense law. She is also an associate municipal court judge for the city of Dallas. Dallas, as a reminder, has a population of about 1.3 million people. The Dallas County, 1.3 million people. That's a lot of people, right? A county court judge is a judicial officer presiding over the county court. Tifanee is going to tell us more about that role. She's going to share something about her background, about herself, and why she is running for the office of Criminal Court 1 County Judge. Tifanee, thank you for being here with us. Welcome, welcome, welcome. For the people who are not familiar with you or what the role is that you're running for, please share that with us and let us know more about you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tifanee Baker, and I am running for judge of County Criminal Court Number 1. A little bit about me. I have, as of November 6th, I have 16 years licensed attorney in Texas, and all 16 of those years have been in criminal law as a prosecutor, a defense attorney, and most recently as an associate judge for the city of Dallas, which I did have to resign that position in order to run for this position. It's just a rule that they have. If you were appointed and you want to run for office, you have to resign. And so I did that because anything worth having is worth sacrificing for. So the reason why I'm here, because being a lawyer and being a judge was not on my bingo card, is because my family is very intimately aware of how the criminal justice system can affect someone's life, not just when the decision is made, but 5, 10, 15 decades later. And I can remember when I was younger, the feeling of frustration out of my parents with the system, not understanding what was happening and, not understanding what the lawyers were saying. It's still palpable to me now. And I remember feeling helpless, and I didn't like that feeling. And I made a decision, and I completely changed my entire career path from, aspirations of being the next Erin Andrews doing sports journalism. And I went to law school to get into the criminal justice system to help other families not go through what mine went through. So I could help other families in some ways have their rights protected and make sure that when decisions are being made, that there are just decisions and not just focused on punishment. I believe that if we focus on addressing the underlying issues that some of these people have that are based on trauma and other things, that we can keep them from coming into this system. We can keep the courtroom doors from being revolving doors. That has always been my focus. Is when I got into this, I wholeheartedly believe that the system itself helped to create criminals by just focusing on punishment instead of, in some cases, focusing on rehabilitation and or just addressing the problems and issues that people have. So not everybody that comes into the criminal justice system is just criminal minded. Some people, they had stuff going on in their lives, trauma that's just they haven't dealt with. And unfortunately, it led them to getting arrested and winding up in a courtroom. And it just takes one person to pause and say, hey, why are you here? Because if I can address how you got here, maybe I can keep you from coming back, because I don't want to see you again and you don't want to see me again, right? So that's just a little bit about my background and why I am so, I'm really passionate about just the entire system and educating people about the system and wanting them to understand so that, I can keep more people from coming into this system and building what we call a criminal resume.
Okay, Tifanee, thank you for that. Just as an icebreaker, right? I'm an attorney, you're an attorney, I've been an attorney for, I don't even know, 23 years now. I still remember my least favorite law school class. I should have took a pass fail. I never should have even put that on my Are you allowed to say what your least favorite?
Commercial paper. I don't even know why that's a thing.
Oh.
And girl, it was an open book test, open notes, and I was like, oh, okay. It didn't. None of that helped. I hated that class. Bane of my existence in law school. I don't know why we have that.
Well, because maybe you'll go into something related.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No.
I still, you know what? I still have dreams that I'm I'm late for a test, or, I missed the whole semester and now I got to take the test and I'm not going to, it's that serious. It is that serious.
I always tell people that want to go to law school, do not do it the way that I did. Um, I, I went straight through. Texas Tech is kind of, School of Law is, in some ways non-traditional because a lot of the students there are non-traditional.
Mhm.
So like I was an outlier because I did not take a break. Like I went from undergrad and I went straight to law school, and I was there with people who were like on their third career or their second career, or they've been on a sabbatical, they had jobs, they had husbands and wives, and I was sitting there like, I just came from undergrad.
Baby, I just graduated.
I just graduated. I'm here, but like I was burnt out too. Like I remember my first year of law school, Barack Obama was becoming a big thing. And I actually skipped my property class to go see him in Austin. And I told my professor, I'm out. I'm going to Austin to see Senator Barack Obama, and I'll be back next week. So, I'm here, and I clearly passed the bar.
I mean, hello.
I got my degree, but I mean, there were just some things that I did that in hindsight were like, girl, but like, going to see Barack Obama because, now you can't get close to him, right? When I went, I was able to shake his hand and he was like right in front of me. The girl that was standing next to me, I was like, oh my God, I'm never washing my hand. I've obviously washed my hands since then.
I hope so.
It was like one of those things where it's like, oh my God, he shook my hand. Ah! So like, I don't get starstruck by celebrities like movie stars, singers. That I'm such a nerd. The people that I geek out over are judges. And like, the Baracks and Michelle's, the RBGs and the.
No, but wait a minute, that's you now. That's you. You're the person that people would get starstruck over.
It's about
right?
to be me. Yes, we're gonna speak that into existence. But like that's who I geek out over. When I was at Texas Tech, we had one of the alumni had been the clerk for Justice Day O'Connor. And so I was able to meet several of the Supreme Court justices because he had clerked for her way back when. And so at Tech, they had several of the justices that came in. So I'd met Scalia.
Ooh. Antonin. And
that's all I'll say about that. I'd met Justice O'Connor.
Wow, that is remarkable.
Yeah, so those are experiences that make me go where other people would be like, I mean, whatever. But those are the things that make me super excited.
Oh, that is incredible. Well, let's get into the meat of the thing, why we are here. And thank you to the research team, by the way, for putting these questions together. Really appreciate it. In 2025, Dallas County officials described the county jail and criminal justice system as broken, citing overcrowding and delays that keep people in jail longer while waiting for court proceedings. How would your leadership work to reduce delays in misdemeanor cases so people are not stuck in jail or in legal limbo longer than necessary?
Well, so one of the reasons why I chose this court specifically is because there have been issues with this judge and coordinator showing up to work. The very basic part of the job of judge is just being on the bench consistently,
right? So
that you're there to make timely rulings. So you're there to take the plea. So you're there to sign the dismissal. So you're there to make sure that the trials are getting set, that the motions, that either side is going to file are heard, that the hearings are heard in a timely manner, and also that the jail cases are moving. If you do not have a judge who is present, then people languish in jail. That is just a fact. It is what it is. I don't have to lie or make that up. It just is. Common sense says if the person is not sitting on the bench, the people in jail cannot have their cases moved. So number one is consistently being at work. Number two is making sure that enough of the jail cases are being heard. It's a misdemeanor court, and the statute of limitations is 2 years. That means that the state has 2 years to even file a case for it to move forward, except for family violence cases, which the legislature changed to 3 years for statute of limitation. But typically speaking, someone who is in jail on a misdemeanor case should not be in jail languishing for months simply because they have not been brought to the court for their case to be handled, however that happens. And so part of the issue and part of the backlog is simply because you do not have a judge. And that is not acceptable, and it's not okay. I can't sit here as an attorney who has dedicated her life, her professional career life, to being in the criminal law arena and practicing criminal law and say, I'm okay with a court that does not have a judge that is just not consistently there. And because said judge has not consistently been there, there's now a backlog. This is going to be a cleanup court, unfortunately. But I am ready for the challenge. This is what I went to law school to do, and I will get that done. One of the things that needs to be done is taking an inventory of the cases, particularly the jail cases, to, ask the state, realistically speaking, come on, baby lawyers, I need you guys to evaluate these cases and tell me and the defense attorneys which of these cases we can dismiss, which one of these we need to plea, and which of these cases need to go to trial. It's really just that simple. And it can be done in a timely and efficient manner if the judge is willing to be on the bench and be at work consistently.
All right. I like that response. And we do have a question from the audience. Big Kev. Hey, Big Kev. He wants to know, what's the most toxic misconception about law that the average person has?
So I used to be one of those people who was kind of jaded, obviously because of what happened in my own family. And I used to think that the criminal justice system, like there was no justice in this system. And since I've been in the system and I've been working in it, what I've realized is that the system is only as good as the people that we elect to be in those positions that make the decisions that affect other people. That's your sheriff. That's your district attorney. That's your judges. Those people make decisions every day about somebody else's life. And if we as the citizens, we as a community, don't take the time out to make sure that we are electing the right people on the local level, then yeah, our system is going to be crap. It's going to be unjust. We're going to be, jaded about it because we're going to think that there is no justice in the system. But that's not true if we elect the right people. And what I've tried to do, even before I decided that I was going to be a candidate, is make sure that I could tell the community where you need to go to find information about the people that are going to be on your ballot. Here in Texas and in Dallas, and I think nationwide, the League of Women Voters is an organization that does the work and puts out information about propositions on your ballots and about the candidates that are running. And you can go through there and look. And the thing is, they're nonpartisan. And so they won't tell you how to vote, but they do provide the information. And that is just one resource that, a community member can just look up online and go through and research the candidates so that they're making informed decisions, as opposed to just going in and being like, which one of these names sounds better to me? Right? Because
that does happen. That does happen. Yeah.
It does. And I want people to be, I'm so passionate about people needing to know about the judges, especially on the criminal side, just because the decisions that get made are so important. Like, a judge is deciding whether or not somebody's going to go home, whether or not they're going to go to prison. And so I would think if it were me, I would want to make sure that I have a judge that is going to be fair, it's going to be just, follow the law, but also if there is room for, rehabilitation or programs or something, that I have a judge that is also thinking about those things in the back of the mind. So I think that it has to do more so with the people that we allow and elect into those positions more than anything else.
Okay. And I'll add to that people really don't believe that they have a choice when it comes to this type of thing. And you absolutely do have a choice. People think, the outcomes of these cases is already decided before they get to the courtroom, and that's not true. You just have to, I don't know, you have to be more vocal in your community when you want these changes. When you say, the judges are always giving custody of the kids to the mom, and they're always giving people 20 to life. If you go before this judge, they're going to get life in prison. And okay, if you think that's the case, then do something about it. Plain and simple, do something about it. And you have the power to do something about it. So yeah. Dallas County officials have cited jail overcrowding as a serious concern. From your perspective on the bench, how do misdemeanor courts like yours impact jail population levels? And what changes could you implement to help relieve pressure on the system?
So again, I'm going to go back to being on the bench every day. So here's the thing. The concept is, the longer that a judge is willing to work and be on the bench, the less a defendant's rights are violated. It might go over some people's heads, but the longer that a judge is willing to be on the bench and work, the less a defendant's rights will be violated. And the reason being is because that judge is there and is able to make decisions efficiently, but not infringe on a person's rights because they're not trying to, because they haven't been there. The longer you're willing to work, the more your decisions can be balanced, but done efficiently, quickly, but done in a way that doesn't infringe on a person's rights. Also, if you're there, there's more cases that you can hear from the jail. So Dallas County actually has a program called Court Call that can be used. That's not being utilized in this court. That's one thing that will be utilized when I become the judge of this court. It is real easy to get through jail cases when you use the technology that the county is already paying for. So like, this court is wasting resources because there's certain technology that's just not being used that can help move these cases, right? And so the attorneys talk to their clients ahead of time. All the paperwork is electronically sent over to the jail. It works real smoothly when you use it. And you can get through those cases fairly quickly without even having to transport those people over to the jail. So guess what? When I'm elected and I get to use that, I can get through having people on our jail chain and getting those cases moved, but also getting cases in the jail on court call and doing those simultaneously at the same time, right? Because I can walk and chew gum at the same time. So I would utilize the technology that we have to help speed up moving those cases in the jail, but do it in an efficient way, in a way that doesn't infringe on that person's rights either.
So can you just give like a little explainer about what court call is, why it's called court call?
So you see how we're doing this right now?
Mm-hmm.
Court call does the same thing. Except for you can upload documents. They get sent over to the jail and they go into a kiosk where the defendant can sign. and then they get sent back to the court, and everything is done, electronically, and it's done efficiently without having to bring the person over from the jail.
Okay.
And it's sort of just like this.
Okay. Yeah,
and it's actually kind of sort of looks the same way too. Like the judge would be here, the defendant would be there, the defense attorney is here, everybody can see everybody. We can have a conversation, we can have the hearing, we can do the plea, all that can be done. And it makes it move just as if that person was right in front of you in the courtroom, but we didn't have to take the time to wait for them to be brought over from the jail to the courtroom.
And that does make a difference when you have a county of 1.3 million people. You probably don't have the resources to bring every single person over to the courtroom from the county jail. I don't know if it's like in my county, the jail is attached to the court. So it's just like you're walking them to the elevator and putting them on the elevator to the court. But 1.3 million people, that would make it difficult to do that. So within the limits of Texas law, how do you approach bail and pretrial release decisions? Well, I guess in the courtroom you used to work in, and how would you approach them in your the role that you're running for?
So, municipal court is just tickets, and so we don't put anyone in jail. The only way that someone got in jail on that side, because we did have jail dockets that we moved through, was if they had a ticket and they didn't show up, and they didn't show up multiple times, and then a warrant unfortunately got put out for the arrest. But that's the only reason why they would be in there. And typically what we did was we gave people an opportunity so everybody gets out. If they come in on a ticket and they're in the jail, everybody gets out. You getting out some kind of way. Either we're going to get you a new court date, and you're getting out that day, and you're going to come to court, and I'm going to impress upon you, please come to court so that you don't come back in here and we have to have a conversation. There's a prosecutor who's also on the line. So just so you know, the jail docket at the municipal court is also like this. So we're talking to people that are in the Marshall's jail, just like I'm talking to you right now. And we have a prosecutor on the line who will, if you are interested, can offer you deferred, and the court will accept that. If you don't want to fight this and you just want to, take your back time, we can do that too. Right. So that was what I did at the municipal court level. At the county level, there are a range of things that you can do on bond. And remember, this is a misdemeanor court. So these are low-level offenses. Typically, a lot of people can get what's called a PR bond. PR bond, personal recognizance. It just means you don't pay to get out, but you are promising the court that you're going to come back on a particular date at a certain time with your lawyer. And you're just promising me that you're going to come back on that date and you don't have to pay to get out. Typically, the bonds on these are low. On family violence cases, they could be a little higher. DWI cases with accidents could be a little higher, but there's a range. The things that get considered in for bonds and bond conditions are, you balance concern of the community, right? Again, these are low-level offenses. So in most cases, we're not really worried about what this person, how this person is going to harm the community, so to speak, because they're low-level offenses. But the other thing that is taken into consideration is criminal history, right? Whether or not they have other cases pending as well, what the PC affidavit is. And then in Dallas, we also have an assessment that is done. Like it ranks the person's, concerns for the community ranked 1 to 5. A 1 is the lowest level. So like this person is low risk. A 5 would be higher risk, right? Typically, most people are going to be lower risk. And then there's other things to take into consideration, like mental health issues and things of that nature that all go into making decisions on bond. So no one case, no one person is the same. And so there is a there is not a one size fits all when it comes to bonds, and there should not be. We have ranges for a reason.
And we have another question from the chat. And this does go to the campaign. I know being an adjudicator and running for office are two completely different things. And you have to, juggle both hats. How much pushback do you anticipate to your run for office being, well, he mentions the good old boy network. Do you see pushback when you're out on the campaign trail? Do you see people saying, "Hey, oh, it's a black woman running for county judge. We don't want that. We don't need that. We don't like her views. We don't like her views on jail and bail and sentencing and."
Not in Dallas, Texas.
No. All right.
Texas. Dallas County is blue.
Okay, there you go. There you go. Let's see. Okay. Moving on to major bail changes in 2025. Texas lawmakers passed and debated major bail changes last year, tightening rules for some offenses while raising concerns about judicial discretion and the impact on low-income defendants. With these recent changes, how would your court ensure people aren't jailed simply because they cannot afford to pay while still protecting public safety?
So I think we kind of covered that in the previous two previous questions ago. But so again, I'm in a misdemeanor court. A lot of these changes are going to affect people who are in felony court. But we could have a situation where there's somebody that comes in on misdemeanor, that comes in with a misdemeanor and a felony. What else? And I want you guys to know that you can have different bonds on a misdemeanor case and a felony case at the same time. So I'm a defense attorney, right? And I have had clients who had PR bonds on their misdemeanor cases, but on the felony case, they had like a bond amount that they had to pay, right? And again, that is because of the lower level offense of the misdemeanor, right? So for example, someone that comes in with a possession of controlled substance, which is a state jail felony offense, which is the lowest level felony offense in the state of Texas. But they also have a criminal trespass, which is a class B. So the misdemeanor judge would do a PR bond on the criminal trespass. And then the felony judge may have set like a $2,500 bond on the felony case. So the bonds could be different, even though the person is in jail and has a felony offense and a misdemeanor offense. So yeah, the legislature has done some things, but because of the misdemeanor offenses being low level, most of those bonds will not really actually be affected, and the judges will still have discretion to do what they need to do to set bonds that, aren't keeping people in jail on the misdemeanor cases.
So let me just ask you, what do you think about a cashless bail system? Like there are some states that are considering it. I think there's one state, maybe New Jersey, that's moved towards something like that. Texas will never do that, I know. Are you allowed to say what you think about that, or?
Not really.
Okay.
So let me just tell you already know why, but let me just explain why. So I have been doing countless forums and interviews and endorsement screenings and the like. And some organizations and some groups will ask questions about what's your opinion on this? What's your opinion on that? And the reason, and some of the answers that I have put on those is, I cannot answer this. The reason why is because even though I'm just a judicial candidate, I am still under the judicial canons as if I was a judge.
Correct.
One of the things that judges cannot do is give their opinions on current cases that are happening, any litigation, and opinions, mostly about certain legal issues that are at play in the public. And the reason being is because judges are supposed to be fair and impartial and neutral magistrates. So if someone were to come in front of the court, you do not want to be in a situation as a judge where you have to recuse yourself because you have an opinion on something and you may have a bias towards the person that is in front of you. Therefore, we don't give our opinions on a whole host of things, so that no one can say that we're going to be unfair to the person who is before the court, and that the court is going to, have to make a decision on. So,
which makes running for judge very difficult.
yeah,
You all need to appreciate how hard it is for someone to run for a judgeship. It is so hard. We do have an audience member, Sianka, who has a question. Hey, Sianka.
Oh, hey, Miss Ayana, how you doing? Good evening. Hi, Tiffany, how you doing? Or Judge Tiffany, I should say, Judge Baker. I gotta on my bearings, When you say, I'm glad you said a judge is supposed to judge by the law, but there are judges who put their feelings, and then when it comes to sentencing, different different cases and things like that. So how do judges like you hold other judges accountable and try to put a stop to that and remind them of why they took this job, why they took that position?
So unfortunately, there's not too much that any of us can do about that. What I will tell you is that it's not on the other judges. It is on the voters. So you all vote us in. I wholeheartedly expect and embrace that if I am an elected official, I am elected judge, that the community and the voters are going to hold me accountable for, doing the job that you elected me to do. And if I am doing things like letting my personal feelings or letting how I feel about certain cases influence my decisions on certain cases, then that's not okay. And I should expect to, one, have someone, an opponent, and two, expect that it's very likely that the voters will vote me out, right? Like that's just something that I should expect.
Mm-hmm.
And I shouldn't I should just expect it. I know everybody's not like me. I'm like idealistic to a fault. But I just feel like this is how the system should be, and this is what the system is about. And judges do not have bosses. Their boss are voters in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And so if there's a judge that is not doing what they're supposed to do, or they're letting their outside feelings affect the way that they rule, then they don't need to be there, and the voters need to vote them out.
I totally agree. Especially when it comes down to certain cases I would hear, or to be truthful, I would see on the movies, and I know everything is not by the movies, but you see judges being paid under the table. So, I'm sorry, I had to ask. So, in that regards, isn't that conflict of interest, and they need to be fired immediately, taken off by whoever, the governor or whoever, when it comes down to that? Or does that come back to just the voters, look, this guy or this female is taking money and doing blase, they're not supposed to be doing, in that nature?
So we actually have a judicial ethics committee that hears those things, and they have a wide range of ways that they can handle complaints that come in front of them. One of them is to do public reprimands. They can do private reprimands, all the way up to removing a judge from office. And so if there's something egregious, and actually, I think within the last 3 years, the Judicial Ethics Commission in Texas did actually remove a judge from office after complaints had been filed. And the committee decided that they reached the level of, being so egregious that judge needed to be removed from office.
Oh, see, Ayana, see. No, I love picking at Ayana. Thank you so much for answering my question, Judge Baker. I'm speaking into existence. I read so much about you, and I wish you the best. And I just vote. I wish I can vote for you, but I'm in North Carolina. So best regards to you. Thank you, Ayana.
You're welcome, Sianka. Thank you, Sianka, for your audience participation.
Whee!
You are so funny. I love Sianka. She's one of our moderators. And yeah, we're from all over the country. So, but you can still ask a judge a question, honey. A lot of people don't know about different things having to do with the justice system. And so I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions. And whatever you can answer. And whatever you can't, skip it. It's fine. What's one courtroom practice you'd change on day one?
Using technology.
You would use more of it or less of it?
More of it.
More of it? Okay. What's the biggest barrier to justice in county courts right now?
Judges not being on the bench.
Okay. What's the one thing you wish every defendant understood?
Keep your mouth closed and quit talking to everybody about your case.
You have the right to remain silent. And you should.
Yes.
Yes. What's the most outdated part of the county court system?
The jail system that they use.
Okay. What's one reform? Oh, I think I guess, yeah. The call thing that you mentioned. I was going to ask, what's one reform that would immediately reduce case backlogs? Let's see. What's one thing judges should say no to more often? Or yes. A yes or no. What's one thing they should say yes to more often?
Well, so here's the thing, and this has been a real big issue for me. One thing that really, really irks me is probation officers thinking that they control a case. They do not. You can give your opinion on what you think should happen, but you are not going to come to the judge and tell the judge, well, I think that this should happen, and the judge should just do it. That should never be a thing, because probation officers, one, are not lawyers. So, and whatever happens on a probation violation case is the decision for the state and for the defense attorney to negotiate. It does not include the probation officer, and I need them to understand that. So when I become judge of this court, probation does not control anything that happens. You can tell us what you would like to see, but you're not the deciding factor on what happens on a case. And you should never be, because you're not attorneys and you don't understand the nuances and the law on these cases. So yeah, no.
Okay. Let's talk about some justice system challenges. Many people feel the justice system can disproportionately affect low-income residents. What reforms would you support or have you supported that would ensure equitable treatment regardless of economic status?
So this comes up more often in bonds than anything else. Bonds are not to be used to keep somebody in jail. That is not the purpose of bond. Bond is literally just to secure the defendant's presence back at court, at their court dates. And the other thing that you take into consideration, right, with the bond is community safety. But again, these are misdemeanor cases. So in Dallas, if a person has been in jail for a certain number of days, especially over a week, without having posted said bond, we have a hearing to one, see if the state is in agreement to do a PR bond, or if we can just reduce the bond to something that the defendant, a reasonable amount that the defendant can afford.
Okay. We do have another question from the audience, and it says, what role should rehabilitation play for juvenile offenders?
A big role.
Do you prefer rehabilitation over incarceration for juveniles? I guess not prefer, but would you rather see them be rehabilitated and receive mental health services than, say, be put in juvenile hall until they're 21 years old?
I believe that's fair. Children do not know how to express themselves verbally in a lot of ways. And so when there are issues or trauma or something, a lot of that manifests itself out in behavioral issues and problems. And again, if you could just address those issues, those traumas, then you may see those behavioral issues not be a thing anymore, right? Instead of just being like, oh, we just need to get them out of the classroom. Or even, let's not just say juvie, ISS.
What is ISS?
So that's in school suspension.
Okay. Oh, in school suspension. Okay.
All because, instead of trying to figure out what their issue or problem is, we're just, trying to throw them somewhere and get them just out of the way instead of addressing the problems. I think a lot of issues, not just on the adult side or in juvie, but just in general, is not addressing issues, especially in our community, right? Because for a long time, we didn't believe in therapy, right? Or any of that. And if we did, I think a lot of issues would be handled, right? And we could see less behavioral issues if we're just addressing the underlying problems.
Okay, and I hope that answers the question. Let's see. There's some questions I cannot ask you. This is our second time having a candidate for a judgeship on here, so I'm trying to see if I ask them any questions that I can also ask you. How are you reconcile engaging in a campaign with the non-political nature expected of judges once elected?
So, I'm okay with judges being elected. And the reason why I say that is because I believe that the community should elect the judges that they want in these courts. I think one of the major things that some people could see an issue with is the fact that it's partisan instead of nonpartisan, right? Mm-hmm. Nonpartisan would be better, but I think partisan races, at least on a base level, lets a voter know kind of where people stand on basic issues, without really having to say where I stand on basic issues. I've chosen a party to run under, so that should tell you something. But once you get on the bench, you need to just be a good judge. You need to follow the law. You need to be fair. You need to be thoughtful in your decision making. You need to be efficient. you need to make sure that the rights of the parties are not violated. Those are the things that are important when you're a judge and you're on the bench. All that, having to run for office, and it's real tiring and hard, but all of those things, the hard work, the block walking, the knocking on doors, the going to the community events and telling people about yourself and why you're running, all of that is worth it when you get on the bench and you just do a good job. Do what the voters elected you to do. Because most people just really want a judge that is going to give everybody an opportunity to be heard, be fair, right? And listen to the cases before them and not just be focused on punishment, right? But also be willing to give people a second chance if it's possible. And I don't think that that's too much to ask when, the voters elect a judge. They just want someone who's going to do the job, do it right, do it fairly, but also do it with, integrity, and also being thoughtful in the decisions that are being made.
Okay, so how would you handle a situation where maybe you could tell that a plea deal had been coerced? Maybe somebody had been coerced into accepting a plea that they didn't want to. How would you handle that kind of situation?
So you just bust a plea. Some people may not know what that means. Busting a plea just means that the judge doesn't accept it. And they tell the parties to go back to the drawing board, come back with something else.
So
I've had that happen before.
really? Okay.
Yes. So I came in and I was actually covering for another attorney. This was about 8 years ago. And I came in and I was covering for another attorney who just told me he couldn't be there for this plea, but it was an agreed plea. And I said, okay. So I came in. The defendant was 17. And in Texas, you are an adult at 17, even if you're not. But you're 17 and you're an adult as far as the criminal system is concerned. And the case was a failed ID. And the prosecutor was giving this young woman back time, which she was willing to sign. And so I got the plea paperwork together. I explained everything to her. I told her that this was going to be a conviction on her record. Asked her if she understood that. She said yes. I said, okay. I told her everything that we were going to do in front of the judge. And then when I came out and I gave the paperwork to the judge, I handed it to her and she kept looking at the paperwork, and then she looked at me, she looked at the paperwork, and she goes, I just think that you and the prosecutor could come up with something different. And she handed the paperwork back to me and I said, okay, judge. So I went back into the workroom, the attorney workroom, and I told the prosecutor, I was like, hey, I think judge just busted our plea. he goes, okay. And I said, yeah, she said she thinks we can do something better than this. And he said, okay. And so what he wound up doing was he reduced the case to a Class C ticket and made it deferred. What that meant was in misdemeanor court, when you reduce a misdemeanor to a Class C ticket and make it deferred, it's deferred for 90 days or 3 months. And as long as the person doesn't get into any trouble in those 3 months, the case gets dismissed. Now, the outcome of that is that when the statute of limitations runs, that person can also then go get that case expunged. Expunged like it never happened. So I've had it happen where a judge has been like, no, y'all go figure something out and bring it back to me. And so when I came back and I gave the judge the paperwork, she looked at it and she said, much better. And so we did the plea. But I mean, I've had situations as an attorney where I've had a judge say, nah, I think you guys can do something else on this. Go see what you can do and come back. So that's a thing there are judges that do that all the time, not just in Dallas, but all over, where somebody comes in with something and the judge is just like, I think you can do better. What she told me afterwards was that she just felt like that she didn't want to start this young lady off, even though it was a fail to ID. She didn't want to start her adult life off with a
You're
record.
frozen.
That's what the judge told me. That's the type of judge I would like to be.
And that's amazing. That can be a form of arbitration, kind of de facto arbitration. But yeah, and in the job, in the work that I do, it's different. It's the attorney convincing the judge, maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe you don't want to go that route, and I do that all the time. Buttermel, but thank you, I appreciate that answer. Buttermel, go ahead. You have a question for Judge Baker.
Yes, Miss Judge Baker, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
I had a different question, which I'm going to still ask, but what you just said made me come up with another question, which do judges have absolute power or decision, or are there rules you have to abide by? Because if the judge can say, I don't think so, like that kind of gives them the absolute power to make the decisions, or are there rules y'all have to stay within?
So yes, absolutely. There are things that there are rules, there are laws that judges have to follow, but there are also times where a judge has discretion and can make decisions on things because the law allows for that discretion. So, for example, the example that I just gave you, a judge does not have to accept a plea. They can bust it until you come in front of them with something that the judge is willing to take. Judges make decisions on rulings. I call it, calling balls and strikes, especially in trial when objections are made. And so the judge's job in that capacity is to determine whether or not there's been a violation of whatever the rule is, or the objection that was being made by one of the parties. The things that judges are bound by, right, are what the law says and ranges of punishment. But being able to not accept a plea is a way that a judge can influence an outcome on a case without actually being involved in that. So a judge is not supposed to know about plea bargaining. Like, judges are not involved in plea bargaining, and you don't know what a plea is until it comes before you. So if you don't want to take the plea, you don't have to. And then both the state and the defense got to go back to the drawing board and figure out something else and come back in front of the judge. As a defense attorney, I know that there are certain judges that I go before where, I know that this judge is going to make a fair decision or a fair ruling. And there are courts that I go in front of where I know that may not happen because of who the judge is that's in there. I don't want and just so y'all know, the attorneys gossip about the judges. Okay. So we know which judges are good. We know which judges are bad.
Can judges be sued?
Judges have immunity for things that are in their official capacity. But what I was going to say is there are also situations where a defendant may choose to go what's called open for punishment in front of the judge. And so in that situation, the judge has a full range of punishment to decide what's going to happen in that particular person's case. And that is if the defendant elects to do that, and if the state is in agreement that the defendant go open. So the state has to agree. You can't just go open to the judge because you want to. The state has to agree to that. And typically they do. in most situations.
So my original question, and I'm trying to make this quick, was, we often talk about bringing down crime in this country, right? That we're trying to get, the crime rates down and everything. But if that truly happens, that will limit y'all job. It may even put you out of work. It's going to close up some prisons. And do you really think that that is something that this country would actually benefit from?
So, I was just at an event a couple of weeks ago where the police chief was talking in Dallas, and actually crime is down in Dallas. That's what he said. But what I'll tell you is, we are never going to be out of a job because there's always going to be somebody that's committing some kind of crime somewhere. So I don't really see that being a thing where we're just completely going to be out of a job. But, the reduction of jails is a good thing. We are in a position now, I think, where they were trying to build new facilities. But due to the efforts of people like Judge Creuzot, well, DA Creuzot now, John Creuzot in Dallas, there have been efforts made through him where actually the building of new prisons didn't happen because he was such an advocate for rehabilitation and, especially with drugs and getting people, getting them into drug treatment. There is a whole drug treatment facility that has been named after him because of his efforts to redirect people who have, addiction issues, drug issues, and mental health issues out of the system and into these diversionary programs so that we weren't in a situation where we were building more prison systems to just put people in. So, we've done that and we've reduced crime. I know that they like to say something different, but I mean, the police chief is saying that crime is down in Dallas. But then on the one hand,
but are you having less clients? No. Right.
That's why I told you that's not going to be a thing. I just got a new client yesterday.
Right. My last question, I'm getting down. Did Thurgood Marshall have any influence on you wanting to be an attorney?
He did not. This solely had to do with something that happened with my family, and I thought that the system was so unjust that I just wanted to get into it and fight the system. That was what got me into this.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you, Ayana. Continue with your town hall.
Thank you, Buttermilk. I appreciate you. So, Ms. Baker, are you able to or want to talk about that at all? Or
I mean, I'll be real brief. It's just, my brother was a juvenile at the time, and a decision was made by a judge. There were two other males that were white, some kind of way that they got sent home, and he did not. Mm-hmm. And he went from juvie into, what do we call that? The pipeline to prison. I know that firsthand and personally. He went from juvie into the adult system and has been in and out ever since. I'm okay aging myself. I'm 41. He's 2 years younger than me. And so my family has been dealing with this over 20 years. So when I tell you guys that I know that the decisions that a judge makes can have an impact on someone's life for decades, I know that because I've seen it firsthand, and I know when these people get out, they have families, and those families have to figure out, what do we do now? How is this person getting a job? They can't get loans. They can't get housing. Getting jobs is hard. So it's not impossible. It just makes life harder once someone starts building a criminal record. But those sometimes are because of decisions that a judge makes. And I know that. And so I just want to be a judge that doesn't just make a decision willy nilly, that makes thoughtful decisions and thinks about what the impact is going to be after I make this decision, not just for today, but for 10 years from now, 20 years from now. And am I a part of the solution, or am I a part of the problem? And am I helping to create a criminal, or am I trying to get these people from coming back by changing their lives so that they don't come back into the system?
Okay, and to that end, how would you measure your own effectiveness as a judge in terms of community safety, rehabilitation, fairness, etc.? How would you measure that for yourself?
The same way that I measure it as an attorney. The thing that keeps me going are the stories where I have, past clients that I never see again, or clients that tell me how, what I did helped change their life and they're still doing good. I'll very briefly tell you about a client that I had. When I first met her, she was on her second DWI, and she shared with me that, she drank because her fiance had been killed in front of her. And she spent a lot of time being angry and sad and all the things, and she didn't want to deal with it, so she drank. And I told her that she needed to see a therapist. And she was like, okay, I'll do that. And I was like, no, but for real, girl. I was like, because I'm getting you out of the situation, because I did. And I kept her from being in jail. But I told her, hey, you're going to wind up with a felony if you don't address the thing that, makes you want to drink. And lo and behold, she picked up a DWI third, and she was calling me to represent her. And so I'm non-traditional in some certain ways. I'm always looking for a creative way to handle a case. And what I did in this case is I went to the judge, and I had the prosecutor with me, and I told them what this lady's problem was, but that I can't do anything to force her to do what she needs to do. Because I think if she just talked to somebody about this and worked through it, because she's not an alcoholic. That's not what the drinking problem is, right? Didn't I tell you that there's trauma and things that people go through, and then they wind up with a case, right? Something like a DWI. That judge made it a condition of her bond that she get a therapist on top of a sponsor and going to AA. But in her particular situation, she had to get a therapist and bring confirmation back and let the judge know what her schedule was with a therapist. I was able to get her through that. The prosecutor agreed to reduce her case to a misdemeanor, and I kept her from being a felon. 2 years after the fact, she emailed me to let me know how she was doing, and she was still sober. And not only was she sober, but she was getting ready to be a new mom. So her life was changed simply because the three of us got together and decided that we were going to address her issue, as opposed to just putting her on probation or giving her a prison sentence. We literally addressed what her issue was, which caused her to have this criminal case in the first place. And I just wholeheartedly believe if we did a little bit more of that, we could keep more people from coming back into the system.
I like that. That is beautiful. That is really beautiful. And kudos to you and people willing to work with you and work with defendants, as opposed to just, and I can say this, but you can't. Sometimes people just want to put that label, that jail label on a black or brown person, put them in jail and just be done with them. I think it's better for society that we try to find other ways to get people to justice. There are other ways to get people to justice. That's just my opinion. My opinion. And I can say it because I'm not running for judge. But if you're elected, what specific goals do you want to achieve in your first term?
So I want to get rid of the backlog. And that is something that can be done in the first year of my term. A term is every 4 years. There is a backlog, but it is able to get cleaned up, and it can be cleaned up in the first year of the term. If you just work diligently and you're there every day, you can get through this backlog. It can be done. The other thing that I want to do is make the court more efficient. And I said it already earlier, but one of those things is to utilize the technology that's already there that's not being utilized. And the other thing that I want to do in my first term is, misdemeanor judges are kind of in a unique position to, in some ways, mold and shape the attorneys that come into their court, because the misdemeanor attorneys, especially the prosecutors, are just baby lawyers. And if you can get them to think about what it is that they're doing, the decisions that they make on cases, why they're making the decisions that they're making on a case, to think about why they're making a certain offer, or, hey, what is the purpose of this? Are you just doing this to get a pound of flesh, or is this actually justice, right? And so being able to mold and shape how they think about the decisions that they make, even as a misdemeanor judge and not as a defense attorney, you're helping, because those baby lawyers are going to be felony prosecutors one day. And they are going to make decisions where people are going to go to prison, right? And so being able to shape and mold the way that they think about the decisions that they make and what justice really is something that a misdemeanor judge can do. And, however long I am a misdemeanor judge, one of the things that I would like to do is help to shape those baby lawyers into being good lawyers that make just decisions, and not, attorneys that are just always going for the jugular. Because just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Okay, I like that response. And when you're out on the campaign trail, you're talking to voters about the job that you do. What do you say to them? What do you say to people who aren't familiar with the differences between a county court and a municipal court or a city court? What do you say to them about the work that you would be doing?
So I actually haven't been asked questions like that before.
Really? People don't want to know what you're going to do?
They don't. So what I have been asked is what I think about rehabilitation.
Oh, okay. So what do you think about rehabilitation?
So I was asked that, and when I knocked on a door, and the lady said the reason why she asked me that is because she and her husband had a son that had a drug addiction, and he was flourishing now, but and he'd been in and out of rehab or whatever, but he had gotten himself into a felony court. And it just so happened that this one judge took the time to be patient and work on it, and not just give him, prison time. And they worked on the rehab and the drug programs and things of that nature to, help him try to deal with this instead of sending him to prison. And so she said that when it came to voting for a judge, that she and her husband were interested in judges that weren't just punishment heavy, but also took in rehabilitation as an option as well.
So, in one word, can you explain what the county court, why the county court matters to everyday people?
The county court matters to everyday people because you said one word, girl.
I did say one. Oh, well, one sentence. I meant one sentence. I'm sorry. My eyes. Blame it on my eyes, not my, level of intelligence.
So the misdemeanor courts are important to everyday people because these are the courts where honestly most people will find themselves. And even though these are low-level offenses, decisions that are made here can change a person's life for the better or for the worse, and they graduate up to felony court. And so it is important that we are electing the right people who are hearing these cases so that the decisions that are made are thoughtful, but also to keep in mind how we are affecting someone's life, and that, decisions are being made efficiently, right? And not just swiftly, just to get rid of a case that's in a person's court.
So, are you excited that early voting starts tomorrow, or are you like, yes?
Yes. March 3rd can't get here fast enough.
So, what's your race looking like? Are you the only one on the ballot for the primary, or how does it work for county judge with the primary?
So I am. There are two people in this race: the incumbent, which is the judge who is currently there, and myself, and that's it.
Oh, wow. Okay, so all you need is one more vote than her. Wow. Well, I guess I can't ask you what I can. You mentioned one thing you would do differently, and that would be to show up every day. Are there other things that you think you would do differently from the incumbent that would make you a better choice for county judge?
I would also make my coordinator show up.
These people are being paid, by the way.
Yes,
They're
they
being
are.
paid to work, and they're not showing up for work.
So here in a nutshell are the things that I believe I will do better. One is I'm going to have a coordinator that's there that can be reached. So there are cases in this court that have never received a first setting.
Oh.
And some of those cases have cause numbers that start with 2022. We are in 2026.
Oh my God.
And that is simply because there was a coordinator who was not there. The first coordinator retired 2 years in, so not there. And there's a different coordinator there now. But the first coordinator just was not at work ever at all. Don't know where she was. But there were, so that means that defendants who were in jail were not getting court-appointed attorneys appointed to them in a timely manner, that people who were out on bond were not having court dates that were set in a timely manner, if at all. And so their lives are just in limbo for years.
And they don't know why.
Simply because there is nobody there to get a court date set. Now, the other thing is making timely rulings. So one of the types of things that can be heard is called a speedy trial violation. It's a motion. The law is settled on that. And so really, when you have a hearing on that motion, when the hearing is done, you should be getting a decision. Decisions on speedy trial violation motions are sometimes not given for 3 to 4 months. and I know this personally. They should happen as soon as the hearing is over. The state and the defense attorney should know what the decision is.
Right.
Like, this is not novel law. It's settled. The decision should be made because we're looking for certain things, and they say the certain things or they don't say the certain things that we're looking for in the hearing. The decision should be made after that. These decisions are taking months to be received. The other thing is trials are not being set. So I think there were, like last year or the year before that, there were only 5 trials in the entire year. No. So we will be having trials. So I need my prosecutors and my defense attorneys to get ready because they're about to be in trial. So we're doing that. And also, this court did not want to hear or take more than 6 jail cases at a time. So if you're the reason why there's a backlog, I don't think that you have the luxury to tell somebody that you only want to take 6 cases. You need to take as many cases as you can handle every day until you get those jail cases cleaned up. Because you're the reason why those jail cases are, like, why there's a backlog from these jail cases, and these people that are just languishing in there because you won't come to work. So, those are just a few of the things that are going to be different when I become judge. Some people may not be happy because I'm going to make them work. And
Well,
they've been able to skate by because the judge hasn't been there. That's not going to be a thing anymore. So sorry, you guys are going to work. And I'm going to work because I've got to clean up this court.
And if somebody's been aggrieved by a defendant, they're entitled to justice. The defendant is entitled to justice. Society is entitled to be made whole. And that shouldn't take years when it can take a couple of weeks to a couple of months. Seriously. And I don't know, the structure of my office is there's a management that comes down on judges if they're not hearing enough cases.
Right.
I don't suppose that you all have that in Dallas County, do you? Is there a body above the judge that's like, hey, you're not doing enough? Or is it just the voters? Hey, this judge hasn't done enough in the last 4 years. Maybe we don't want to have them back.
It's the voters.
You hear that, voters? It's just you.
The voters. Unless there is a complaint that has been filed to and we're talking about ethical violations of the judicial canons. Unless there's some type of complaint that's been filed with that committee, getting rid of a judge is solely based on whether or not the voters vote for that person or not.
You hear that? Listen, early voting starts tomorrow, and I hope you all hear how important it is for you to vote for the changes you want to see. If you want to hear, you want these cases to get heard, you want this docket to move, you know what to do.
And I see a question. And so the court that I am running for is county-wide. That means anybody that lives in Dallas County votes for this. It's not a precinct. It's not a specific precinct. It is county-wide, meaning the entire county can vote on this position.
Wow. I'm geeked for you. I'm sad for the people who have had to wait so long to receive justice. It should not be that way at all. If that was happening where I worked at, heads would be rolling all over the place. You would see heads rolling down the street, honestly. But so are there any final words in these? We got like 3 minutes. Is there anything that we haven't talked about? Anything you want to say to voters as they head into early voting and into the primary on March 3rd?
Yes. I'm gonna try to be brief. Okay. So again, my name is Tifanee Baker. I am running for judge of County Criminal Court number 1 because I believe the community deserves to have a judge that is going to be there consistently, that is going to be fair, that is going to make timely rulings, and is going to make sure that everybody that comes into the courtroom, whether they are a victim or the defendant, has an opportunity to be heard. And that you have a judge that understands that they are making decisions that impact human beings for decades. The other thing that I want you all to know, that because of things that are going on right now and the shenanigans of a party, voting in Dallas County and in Texas, it is important that you vote early this year. February 17th, last day is February 27th. You can vote anywhere that you want to in the county. However, if you wait until March 3rd, you can only vote in your precinct, and your precinct may have changed. So you need to look at your voter registration card to see what your precinct is. You are only going to be able to vote in your precinct. There is going to be a lot of chaos because people are not going to pay attention to that. They're going to go somewhere that they've normally voted in, be confused, and be running around trying to find out where they can vote on election day. Avoid all the chaos and vote early between February 17th and February 27th. And hopefully I have earned your vote. I'm number 1 on the ballot. Look for T. Baker, Tifanee Baker. Thank you so much for having me.
That is awesome. Thank you so much, Judge Baker, for joining us. Again, we are speaking that into existence. We loved having you, and we love that you were honest and about what goes on at the county court.
Yes,
and that you talked about the changes that you would make on day one. And I'm sure that the people who are in your district are excited for those changes. I know we got at least one, Joni.
Yay.
She's excited.
Yay.
She's excited for those changes, and I am confident that you will be an asset to your community, to your county, to the state of Texas as a judge, as you have been as a lawyer. And looking ahead to tomorrow, before we get out of here, looking ahead to tomorrow, we actually have we have another doubleheader. We're having doubleheaders all this week of town halls. We want you all to come back and join us as you did tonight. We have Andrew Turner, who is running for Texas House District 59 tomorrow at 6:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And following Mr. Turner is John Drew Williams, who is running for Kentucky U.S. House District 1 at 8:00 p.m. Eastern. Again, starting at 6 p.m. Eastern, we have a candidate for House District 59 from Texas, and then followed by a U.S. House District candidate from Kentucky District 1 at 8:00 p.m. Eastern. Again, we're going to be here all week, people. Get locked in, twins. Come back, twins. We had Tifanee Baker tonight, who was running for Dallas County Criminal Court Judge for Criminal Court 1. And we appreciate you being here with us and answering questions from the audience. We appreciate the audience participation. It has been so wonderful tonight. I really love the engagement from you guys. Again, my name is Ayana, and this is OVC, Our Vote Counts, which is a nonpartisan movement uniting Americans from all walks of life to empower voters, support candidates of integrity, and ensure every voice is heard. If you would like to work with OVC, please shoot us a DM. We are looking for people to host as well as moderate. I am the moderator if you want to do this job. The host is the person who changes the graphics and makes sure that everything runs smoothly on TikTok. If you would like to do that, please send us a DM. Again, we work through education, outreach, accountability, and action to build a stronger democracy, one informed vote at a time. We thank you for joining us. Remember, your vote is your power. Early voting starts tomorrow in Texas. Get out and early vote, y'all.
Thank you so much for having me.